And we're back. Well, I'm back. This is your girl, Waneshia, author, writing mentor, and the founder of the Pretty Geeky Kids Club, which is an education website with a holistic approach to fundamental learning. And we provide solutions that yield results. So tonight, we're still talking about taking the mask off of bullying. This is a real important conversation that we're having here because bullying is rampant right now, and we really want to understand how to spot it. We want to understand if our child is being bullied. We also want to understand if our child is doing the bullying. Tonight, I have Waneshia Goines joining me, who joined me a couple weeks ago as we talked about what is bullying and the telltale signs of whether or not your child is a bully. And just to revisit those things that we shared with you a couple of weeks ago, bullying is the use of force, threat, or coercion to abuse, to intimidate, or aggressively dominate others. All right, and there are several telltale signs of whether or not your child is a bully. I'm just going to go over a couple of them. If you missed that last video, it is on my feed, so you can catch that. Your child likes to dominate others. That's one telltale sign. Another telltale sign is your child tends to blame others for their behavior. They get satisfaction out of the fear of others. So those were the top 3 telltale signs. Tonight, we're going to talk from a different perspective. We're going to talk from the perspective of if your child is actually the one being bullied. So we want to share with you some ways to identify that and then share with you how to deal with it. So again, like I said, I have Waneshia Goines on with me tonight. You should be seeing her. Hopefully you do. As you come into the live video, please say hello, give me an emoji, shoot me a thumbs up so that I know that you're still here with me. And without further ado, we're just going to go ahead and jump in. So Waneshia, I think the first time that we were on, I really don't think I allowed you to maybe really introduce yourself. I think we really just jumped in. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did we just jump in last time?
I did a brief intro. It was real brief, real cute and petite, but I can reintroduce myself. Hello, everyone.
Please
do. My name is Waneshia Goines. I have over 10 years of service, 10 years experience, in human services and social work. I'm in the military. I love all things thrifting and crafting and helping people.
Good, awesome. So I'm like I said, I'm excited to get into this topic tonight. If you watched my video last week where Principal Lisa Gillespie joined me, she mentioned that one of the ways that we can impact bullying is by building relationships, and I think that's really, really important. So, as an extension of what we talked about last week and the previous week, let's talk about how we can identify whether or not our child is being bullied. Hey, Ms. Cheryl, how can we talk about how our child is being bullied? So, Waneshia, if you could share with us, what are some of the signs of bullying?
Well, one sign is unexplained injuries. Anytime your child leaves school and comes home another way, that's a telltale sign that something is wrong, something has happened. Whether they have tattered clothes, their clothes are torn, scratches, bruises, just basically coming home looking different. Like, that's a telltale sign that you might need to check in with them, see what happened, see what's going on, make sure everything is okay. Another thing is frequent sick days or avoidance and isolation. Most of the times when kids are being bullied, they don't want to go to school. Like, why would they want to go to school when they know harm is waiting for them when they get there, or they're going to be picked on or ridiculed or pushed down, harmed in any kind of way? Like, they fake sick or try to find ways to get out of going to school, or they tend to isolate themselves. Like, if your child is outgoing and then all of a sudden their behavior changes and they become more withdrawn, like something's going on. Like I said before, like, check in with your kid anytime you notice any change in their behavior or things that they normally do and they tend to shy away from or just avoid at all costs. Another thing is changes in appetites. Just like when adults go through things, sometimes our appetite changes. Either it increases or it decreases. Most of the time when a child is being bullied, it's very rare that their appetite is going to increase. It usually decreases because, again, avoidance. Like, dinner time is a time when people talk, when families talk about their day, what's going on, like what did they do. So if I'm being knocked upside my head every day at school, like, I don't want to sit and have family time and be like, hey, yeah, that's what's going on with me. Like, I'ma just go to sleep or not eat at all. Or even at lunchtime, at school, breakfast, like, I'm just gonna stop eating because I'm going through something and I don't have an appetite. I don't feel like eating right now.
Mm. Those are some very interesting points. So the first one she mentioned was unexplained injuries. So if your child is coming home with bruises that they didn't go to school with, then obviously that's cause for you to ask a question or two. If they are trying to find a way to not go to school, and I'm not talking about the children who don't want to go to school because they don't want to do work. We're talking about the schools who don't want to go to school, the children who don't want to go to school because they are fearful
Right.
of something happen whenever they get there. The third thing she mentioned is the changes in their appetite. So I've been telling you guys time and time again, you got to have conversations with your children. Me and Corbin, we have a little rundown every single day. As soon as he get in the car, I need you to let me know what's going on. How was your day at school? And that's how I found out that, one of his peers, told a teacher that he was going to shoot her. And we need to have those conversations because those things need to be brought to my attention as a
Right.
parent, obviously. But it definitely needs to be brought to the attention of the leaders in the school so that something can be done to prevent that from happening. Because we don't want to discount these things as idle threats.
Right.
We have to take these things seriously. So we have to have conversations on a daily basis with our children to find out what is going on. So, Waneshia, I know there's some more signs that we can use to identify whether or not our child is being bullied. So, what are those other signs?
Another sign is loss of personal items. Like, if you know you sent your child to school with the latest and greatest on and they come back in clothes from the lost and found, if they didn't have some kind of accident, something's going on. Like, check in with them. Make sure that they didn't lose their stuff or it wasn't just taken. Like, see what's going on, because taking small things can lead to taking bigger things. Another thing is declining grades. If you know you have an awesome student, a scholar, or a child who's usually enthusiastic about school, loves going to school, loves learning, then all of a sudden that changes and their grades start to go down. They're not studying, they're not as interested in school anymore. It's probably because something is going on. Usually, if they are being bullied, they're not focused on making sure they get their schoolwork done, making sure they're paying attention. They're focused on surviving the day, avoiding the bully, making sure that they aren't caught off guard. So they're in survival mode instead of being focused on their education, which is where their attention should be.
Mm. Yes.
Another one, sleep loss. Again, like adults, kids, when they're going through something or dealing with something, their sleep pattern is going to change. Like, if they, because they're worried, they're sad, they're depressed, frustrated, they're dealing with somebody bothering them, entering their personal space. That's going to affect how they sleep, and which is also going to affect their grades because I'm tired when I get to school, so I'm not focused. Intense emotional reactions. Kids act out, and it's not always like, it's not acting out as, oh, we're in the store and they can't get a toy that they want. This is breaking down at just you saying hi or how are you doing, or just like when we as adults just break down and we can't explain why, or we can't muster up the words to get out like what's going on. Pay attention to that. Changes in friendship. Sometimes as kids in school, there's cliques, and then if one day you find yourself on the outside of the clique and you're the one being picked on and you thought these people were your ace boon coons, like, check in, be like, hey, I noticed John hasn't been over here lately. What's going on? Is everything okay? Did y'all get into an argument? Usually, kids who are being bullied are unpopular or tend to be unpopular or tend to be kids that are easily picked on. So if you've noticed that they used to have friends that they no longer hang with, or they were associated with certain people that they aren't associated with anymore, check in with them and make sure nothing is going on or nothing hasn't happened. Just to make sure you're in tune with what's going on with them. Like, it's so important to always be in the know of what's going on with your child. Like, period, whether they want to tell you or not. Like, a lot of times kids don't like sharing, or it's hard for them to open up. You have to find ways to reach your child so that they will communicate with you, and that y'all have open communication and they feel comfortable letting you know what's going on with them.
I think that's an excellent point. I think we may have touched bases on this a couple of weeks ago of how Jay-Z coming out and having his conversation about mental health and how there should be more therapists in schools is kind of normalizing it and making people feel a little bit more comfortable about sharing their feelings. I 100% agree with him, and I 100% agree with you that we have to get them in the habit of sharing what's going on in their minds. You don't have to be the strong silent type. You
Right.
can share going on. Then I need for you to let somebody know so that
Right.
we can intervene in some way, right? To help your situation out. And I have something that I kind of want to discuss. It's kind of some conversations I've been having on Facebook, and I want to get your opinion, Waneshia, as well as our viewers' opinion. So after I share it, I would love for you guys to weigh in and let me know what your thoughts are. The first thing is, one of my associates on Facebook shared that bullying made them stronger. And I would love to know what your thoughts are on whether or not bullying makes somebody stronger. Another comment that I got from an associate of mine is that people who, as a result of bullying, decide to take their lives or decide to do something really extreme to themselves as a result of bullying are not strong mentally. I want to know your feedback on that as well. So, one, bullying makes people stronger. And two, people who have very drastic reactions to being bullied, negative reactions to be bullied, are not strong mentally or not being taught to love themselves by their parents. So, Waneshia, if you could weigh in on those two things.
So the first one, in my opinion, and in things that I have come across, I don't feel like bullying makes you stronger. Do I feel like you can turn a negative into a positive? Absolutely. But as far as like making somebody stronger, I feel like the only way a situation can make you stronger is if you deal with it. Like, if you were bullied and you never told anybody about it, you never sought help, you never got counseling, you never confronted the bully. Like, if you've never dealt with it, that's not making you stronger. You just put a band-aid on it, or you just put it behind you and you moved past it. But you're still affected by that. Anything you don't deal with still has an effect, and that effects of that bullying could show up in something else. Like, because of you being bullied, you don't trust people, so you might not have that many friends, or you may be a bad communicator, or you might not be able to be in relationships with people. So I don't feel like it makes people stronger if they don't deal with it. Like, that's my opinion. Other people who have been bullied may feel the opposite. They may feel like, oh, my bully taught me I was bullied. Like, now I stand up for myself. And that could be a part of the bullying, but it could also be a part of looking inside yourself and being like, hey, I know how this made me feel. I don't want to feel like that anymore. Like, I'm going to do something about it. You're dealing with it. So I feel like if you've dealt with it,
Right.
yes, it can make you stronger, but it's not like the bullying per se. It's the aftermath of it. Is I was bullied. I know how it made me feel. I don't want to deal with it again. So this is what I'm going to do moving forward. And number two,
Mm.
I do not feel like when it in those extreme cases and unfortunate cases where kids take their lives because they were bullied, I don't think that has to do with them being mentally strong, because we are not in these people's houses. We don't know how they're being raised. We don't know what they're being told. Like, they just got to a point where this particular situation got out of control and they no longer wanted to deal with it. They no longer wanted to feel how they felt. So, in order to no longer feel, they took their lives, which is unfortunate. And why I think it's so important for people to be mindful of what they tell their kids and how you see your kids interact. Like, intervention is important. If you see, like we said a couple weeks ago, if you see that your child is overly aggressive at a young age, help them deal with that so that they don't turn into a bully, so that they aren't terrorizing somebody, so that they aren't picking on somebody to the point where they make someone feel so low that they want to take their lives. Like, some of the strongest people still take their lives. It has nothing to do with their mental capacity or their mental ability. It's what they feel. Like, I don't want to feel this anymore. I'm over it. So this is what I'm going to do. Because, like I said, like,
Yes.
we're not in these homes, so you can't say what parents are and aren't telling their kids. And even if parents are telling their kids or aren't telling their kids, kids are ultimately going to do what they want to do. Like, if I want to pick on somebody, like, and my mama told me not to, like, I'm gonna do it. Like, my mama not here at school every day, and I'm gonna intimidate this person to the point where I'm gonna make them so afraid of me that they're not gonna say anything about it. So I'm going to be able to get away with it, and I'm gonna do it for as long as I can. So you have to, like we said, be in the know. Like, make sure you are in constant communication with your child. Pay attention to how they behave, how they interact with other people, how they interact with other kids, how they interact with you. Like, make sure you're paying attention to that. And like we said, any of these signs and stuff that we mentioned, these aren't, they're not limited to this. Like, it's so many things you could pay attention to, but it's just like, if these certain things are heightened, like, make sure any heightened change in your child, you zone in on that and you find out what's going on.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Thank you for sharing your input on that. I hope that some people who are watching will weigh in as well. I listed both questions in the comments, and I would really love to know what people think about it. There was one thing that I wanted to add to you answering the first question about whether or not bullying makes you stronger. I had a student who said that because she was bullied, she became a bully. She didn't stay a bully long though because of how it made her feel. So that really goes back to what you're
Right.
saying about that feeling. And I don't think that being a bully is stronger than being bullied. So you know. Mm-mm. But thank you for weighing in on that. I hope that those of you who are watching also weigh in, because I really want to know what everybody thinks. And I think the more that we talk about it, the more that we normalize this conversation, the more that we're having the conversation, the more that we're having the conversation in our homes and our children understand what it feels like to be bullied. And I think I mentioned to you guys once before that I have a child who I'm working with who has friends who are bullying him. They are essentially bullying him. They're pushing him, knock him into lockers and doing all kinds of things to him. And he feels as if it's okay
Right.
because they're all his friends, right? Or they're kids who are being, hit on, and because the person that's doing it is somebody they look up to, it's okay. Because the
Right.
guy who's doing it, captain of the basketball team, or he's like real cool in school.
Right.
Sorry, you don't pass. It's still not okay.
Right.
Let me see what it is. Mike Jenkins says, I agree. It has nothing to do with your mental state of mind. When anyone individual is under stress, it will cause you to get out of character, whatever that uncharacteristic attribute might be. You're right. You're right. When you under stress, sometimes you're going to do some things that are not like you, that are very unlike you. So, and fortunately, for some people, it ends up being suicide, and that's unfortunate because they haven't given themselves a chance to kind of to mend from it, to change from it, to grow from it. But you just never can say, and I just don't like when people make such absolute statements about that they don't know about situations that they didn't experience themselves. So I want to talk about that, and I hope that more people weigh in. Thank you, Mike, for sharing your thoughts on that. And we're going to change lanes real quickly because I want Waneshia to share what are some things that parents can do if they see these things happening in their child, if they're seeing these unexplained injuries coming home. And I'm not saying go to the school and act up.
Please don't.
What are some things do when we see these changes in their appetite, when we see that they're losing sleep, when we see these intense emotional changes? Hey, Kelly, it's okay. I'm glad you're here. When we see all of these things happening, what is it that we can do as parents or as, role models, onlookers, bystanders? What can we do?
One thing you can do is offer comfort and support. I think oftentimes we brush children's feelings off, or just it's easy to be like, oh, it's not that serious, it's not that deep. Like, don't do that. Validate your child's feelings. Let them know, like, I can understand how hard that may be, or that's unfair. Like, what can we do about it? Encourage them to make new friends. Like in the situation that Lanisha was just mentioning with that student where his friends are bullying him. Sir, those are not your friends. I'm gonna need for you to get some new ones. Like, so change your child's circle of friends. Like, get them involved in a hobby, a sport, some kind of activity that they may enjoy, so that they can be around more like-minded individuals like them. And it'll also build their confidence as well. Counseling. I social work. I was against counseling, but guess what? I went because sometimes you need a little help. So counseling is not a bad thing. Like, if you are not equipped with all the skills, or you don't always know the right thing to say, there are plenty of therapists and counselors and people that are out there that can help your child. Like, especially if your child tends to be a loner, like by nature, and they are being bullied, you want to make sure that they are getting the help that they need, that they are able to communicate with somebody, that they're getting their feelings out, even if it's not with you. Like, please make sure you get them in some counseling, regardless of how small or intense the bullying may be. Like, it would do them a great deal in the long run if you get them to a counselor or a support group. There are plenty of support groups for bullying. Even if your kid is having suicidal thoughts, there's apps for that. I know there are 2 kids here that developed an app. It's called I'm Not Okay. If your child has a cell phone, have them download that app. And if they are in a situation where they're being bullied, they can log into that app and say, the app links you with like a buddy. So in the event where you are in the situation and your child is unsafe, they can use that app and it'll link them to their buddy. It'll send their buddy their address, wherever they are, their location, so that they can be safe. Another thing, praise your child for telling someone. It's not always easy to say, hey, I'm being harmed at school, or this person is doing X, Y, and Z to me. So when your child comes to you and tells you what's going on with them, like, praise them for doing that. Let them know, you know what? I understand that could have been hard for you to say, like, and I appreciate you for telling me that. Because encouraging them, praising them for telling you, will encourage them to come to you more, and it'll open that doorway of communication. Another thing, inform school officials. Unfortunately, not all school officials are good ones, and not all people take things serious. So make sure the first time your child comes home and lets you know that something happened, that you inform the teacher, you inform the principals, whoever you need to talk to at that school, let them know. Also, document everything. Like, anytime your child comes home with a scratch, a bump, whatever, like, document everything and follow up if you feel like the school is not doing anything to rectify the situation. um File a report. Nobody wants to file a report on the kid, but listen, if when you do things, when you do the crime, you got to pay for it. What you don't need to do is go up there acting a fool. Please don't go confront nobody's kids. Don't confront the parents without a mediator there, or without y'all all sitting down and having a meeting, because that could just go so far left, and nobody's kids needs any additional issues than what they already got going on. Another thing, be in the know of your child's school anti-bullying policy. All schools have them. Hold that school accountable to that policy in the event that you feel your child is being bullied. Black and white always stands. Hold people to what is in black and white. Another thing, build up your child's confidence. Like, teach them healthy self-talk. Turn their negatives into positives. Like, if they come home and say, my classmates are picking on me because I'm smart, you let them know there's nothing wrong with being smart. Show them examples of popular people who are considered nerds or geeks or smart, whatever the case may be. Like, let your child know there's nothing wrong with who they are. Teach them to be comfortable with who they are and to love who they are. Everybody's mental capacity doesn't build at the same time, so it may take some kids a little longer to get to that point and to have the resilience that they need to bounce back from setbacks. And speaking of resilience, that's my next point. Build resilience, problem solve. Encourage your child to walk away if they are being bullied. A lot of kids are witty and have snappy comebacks. They can use that to their advantage, which we hope doesn't backfire. So maybe that might not be a good one. But, some people are able to talk their way out of situations. So use it. Encourage them to use the buddy system. If your child is being bullied, every time they go to the bathroom, make sure they have a friend to go to the bathroom with them or sit at lunch with them. Like, wherever your child is vulnerable to being bullied, make sure that they have a buddy, because then the bully is less likely to do something when there's other people present. Role play at home with your child. Parents, play the bully, and the child can, of course, like, be themselves, but that will help you and help them develop ways and skills of how to deal with the situation when they are being bullied. So the next time something happens, like, they have that resilience, they have that confidence to look the bully in the face and be like, you know what, I'm not here for it today. Like, scram, fool. Not fool, but just leave me alone. And like I said before, support groups. Find you one. They're out there. There's support groups for everything. Yes, just make sure you are in the know. Intervene as soon as possible. Let your child know It's okay for them to come and talk to you about any and everything. And if you don't have the skills to deal with it, reach out to other people that can help.
Thank you, Waneshia. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I have a random story that I'm going to tell. I don't even think it's a story. It's more so I was watching Law and Order because I'm addicted to Law and Order SVU,
That
and I
is
was
your
watching
show.
it. And it's my show. And for anybody who watches this video, whether you watch it on a live or you watch it on a replay, before you tell me that it's fictional, I know. Just hear me out. So there was an episode where there was some bullying being taking place, and a kid was hurt. Hey, Miss Cheryl, a kid was hurt. Whenever they went to court, because the little boy ended up dying, that was hurt. I'm not getting into all that. We're gonna focus. Whenever they went to court, the psychologist, I think he was a psychologist, explained that when a child is growing up, there are things in their brain that has not fully formed yet. So they don't know how to respond to situations the same way that an adult would. And so I get that it's fictional. I get that. However, that makes sense. That children don't always know how to respond in situations as an adult would, because they're still developing. Like, there's still a lot of things that are happening in their brains inside them. So if we are taking that into consideration as parents, right, that means that is even more of a reason for us to have these constant conversations with them and making sure that they understand what bullying is. They understand that it's not just physical. It could be verbal. It could be cyberbullying. It could really be anything, right? It's people who are using force. They're threatening you. They're abusing you. They're aggressively dominating you in one form or another. So the more that we're having these conversations, the more that we can get them to understand. Because I know all of us remember that whenever we were kids, our parents would tell us things and we wouldn't always listen because we felt like, mom and dad is trying to block my fun, or they don't understand what I'm going through. So we know that as kids, we don't always listen to our parents. So we're going to have to find some ways to intervene, I guess you can say, find some ways to connect with our children in different ways as they get older and they reach that level of immaturity where they don't want to listen to what mom and dad says when mom and dad is telling you that person is not good for you, but because you feel like they are, you still want to mix and mingle with them. So we're going to have to get creative. It's easier for me now because my child is 8 and he listens to everything that I say. But when we start getting teenage years, it ain't always that easy, because I remember what I was like. So the point of all of that is the point of me telling you the story from Law and Order is that our children's brains are every day they are growing, they're developing. And we have to remember that. We have to take that in consideration as we're going every day. And sometimes we're going to be busy. There's going to be other things that feel like it's more important than us sitting down and having this conversation. But I urge you to have these conversations on a daily basis with your child so you can find out what's going on. So I don't like to keep you guys long, but I feel like I've been up here for like an hour because Waneshia just had a lot of really good information to share with us, and we don't want to discount that. It's good that we had this conversation. So I want to wrap it up so to make sure that nobody has lost anything. I did type in some of the items in there that you could use to identify whether or not your child is being bullied. But in terms of what to do, just real quick, some of the things you could do is offer comfort and support. Praise your child for telling somebody, because that's a big deal. It's a big deal to tell and to share what you're going through as a child. Inform school officials. Set up a meeting. Don't go in there acting wild. Just set up a meeting, have a conversation, get everybody on the same page. Get in the know of what the bullying policy is. Black and white, like Waneshia said, black and white always stands, or should. Build up your child's confidence. Make them feel good about themselves. Make them feel good about making good decisions. Teach them how to problem solve. Build up their resilience. Make it easier for them to bounce back. The stronger they are, the more confident they are. Let me say that. Maybe the easier it is for them to bounce back. Encourage them to walk away and to use the buddy system. I really like that. Using the buddy system whenever you're going somewhere, that might be something that teachers should start using. If you know that a child is being bullied, you should start using that, implementing that in your classroom whenever you go into the bathroom for your one-offs, and support groups. So mental health is a very important thing. Therapy is good. It's not a curse word. So
It's
if you
not.
feel like some type of intervention, if you need to talk to somebody, by all means, go talk to them. And that's all we have for you guys tonight. We really want to take the mask off bullying. We want to make sure that everybody understands what it is, that it's not just pushing, that it's cyberbullying, it's all this internet stuff, it's the memes, and I think at some point in our lives, all of us were probably guilty of bullying, but we need to take the mask off of it and understand what it is so that we can put some stops to it. And that's on both sides, whether or not we have the child who's the bully, get them together, or the child that's being bullied, help build them up. So that's all we have for you guys tonight. Every day we lit, so click that link in the bio to find out what we have going on with the Pretty Geeky Kids Club. Waneshia, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
No
And
problem. Thanks for having me.
we'll be back next week, same time, same place, 8 o'clock next Thursday. Thank you guys so much. Peace.